Hey everybody, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a new video. Not playing a game today, but I did want to share a couple things with you for a game I am going to be playing very soon. There is a game out there, it's a skirmish war game. You can play it solo, or you can play it with a friend or against a friend. You can do it cooperatively or competitively. And I've talked about the game before, but I really want to give you a little bit more detail about it. The game is called Relicblade, right here. It's by Sean Sutter. Now, Sean does pretty much everything for this game. He does the art, he designs the minis, he wrote the rules, he published it, he does all the fulfillment of the orders, he has a great website. And I think the only thing he doesn't do is he doesn't cast the miniatures like in metal. He might help, but I don't think he does that part. If I'm wrong, Sean, I apologize. Correct me in the comments. But I discovered this game quite a few years ago. I've actually played it a few times, but it's not that I didn't like the game. I love this game. There was always something else to play. It also didn't have what I call solo rules. And that was until just last year, recently, when Sean promoted a new Kickstarter called the Catacombs of Corral, this one right here. Now, there was a 2-player starter set that he released like a couple years ago, and it was called the Storms of Corral, right here. This is still available, I believe. It's a standalone kit, and it comes with, I think, 8 miniatures, 4 good guys, 4 bad guys. It comes with tokens like this, and of course it comes with the book. You do have to have the actual core rule book, which is called the Seeker's Handbook right here. This comes in hardback, paperback, and PDF. So depending on your budget, you can get this at a reasonable price. Now, Storms of Corral was a 2-player game. It was like a starter set. It came with just enough minis so that you and a friend could play. The miniatures, all I can say about Sean's miniatures are, when it comes to sci-fi, I am a big fan of a company called Die Hard Miniatures. When it comes to fantasy miniatures, honestly, Sean's got them beat hands down. All of his minis are unique. They match his artwork. He has a unique style. His drawing style, his art style is very recognizable. And what blew me away with the game when I first found it was that because he's so involved in his own game, the miniature design matches his artwork. I won't say they're cartoonish. They do have this comic book look to them. It's hard to describe. But like, for instance, if you look at this guy right here with the beard and the scimitar, let me show you the miniature. Now, this one's unpainted right here. Look at, it's that guy. And it's perfect. The guy right there with the dagger and the hood, let me see, where is he? I know I got him here somewhere. Here he is, right there. Now, these are the 4 miniatures, I believe, that come as the good guys in the Storms of Corral set. The woman is right here, the spellcaster, and the little guy with the gun, right there. Like I said, I'm getting ready to paint these because I want to have all my Relicblade miniatures painted. I've got about half of them painted so far, and the rest of them are not painted. Let me show you this guy. This is one of my favorite ones. This is called the Gorgon. Look at this. Dude, you run into that in the dungeon. I don't care if D&D is real or not. If I'm an adventurer and I'm wandering through a dungeon and I run into that, it's time to buy a tavern and retire, man. Look at this thing. So unique. You know, there are a lot of miniatures out there that are unique. But like I said, Sean designs the miniatures. He also, there's a matching card, and I don't have it, but I'll explain that in a moment. All of his miniatures come with a matching card so that you can play. You don't have character sheets. You play with these cards, and let me show you an example of them. So, for example, and these are sort of random out of order here. Here's one called Lady Blackstone. This is a miniature that you can buy and you can play it. Lady Blackstone is not a good guy. She's a bad guy. She's part of the adversary faction. But it's got, all the stats and the weapons and everything. And when you're playing this game, what you do is you have point system. Now down here, you'll see that she is 23 points. Every miniature has a value. So if you're playing the good guys, you're playing versus a friend, you would say, okay, we're going to play a 100-point game. Well, you outfit you select the heroes you want to play or the villains, and then the game comes with cards that you can, let me see if I can find some. It comes with cards, like this is the battle pit, which I got to tell you, out of all the miniatures he does, my favorites are the battle pigs. The battle pigs are these guys right here. So here's the card for the Raider Pig. And there's the Pig Warlord, Axe Pig, Raider Pig, Shield Pig, Soldier Pig. Okay, so, and like I said, they each have points, right? So Sean also provides cards that are like upgrades or equipment that you can do. So like, for instance, this one right here costs 2 points, and it's a Sling and Stone, all right? It doesn't have a limit. Some of them will say, they can only be used by a certain faction or a certain class or whatever. Like, for instance, let me find one. Here we go. The Brutal Charge is like an action you could take, a special action. It costs 1 point, and you can see it says Pig and Beast only. So if you're playing the Pig Army, you could buy this card with your 100 points or whatever points you decide to use. And so you and your opponent, you create your war band, and usually it's about 4 to 6 miniatures. It's much smaller than like a game of Frostgrave where you have like 10 miniatures. In this game, I frequently see, there was a recent event at one of the gaming conventions here, or at one of the gaming stores. They hosted a Relicblade event, and I wasn't able to attend. I was really disappointed, but I saw some pictures, and there were guys running like 3 miniatures, but they had like equipment and special ability cards that they used to round out their point system. And so that is really one of the things I really love about this game, is not just the miniatures, but the cards that you get. The artwork is there. You can see it's not a complicated card. These are, for example, the abilities, the special attacks that the pig can make. You've got the armor, you've got the movement speed, and then this number right here at the top is how many dice you will roll when it's that pig's turn. The higher the number, the more dice you roll. And those dice can be applied to actions like move or attack or special abilities. As you can see, all the pigs have a 3 value. So, and that's what most of them are. I think even now Lady Blackstone, for example, has 4 right up there. She also has 2 armor and 3 moves. So she moves slower than the pigs, but she has a little bit more armor. She also has 3 activities. There's also a little track down here for tracking the health. Most of the good guys have like between 3 and 5 health. Even the bad guys, 3 and 5. Some of the minions that you can have are like 2 or 3 or 1 hit and they're out. Again, the card portion of this game is just, it's just incredible. The artwork and also the way the game plays. Because you can place these cards out in front of you and you have access to everything you need to play the game plus dice. So why am I telling you about this game? Well, of course, I want to start playing it, and I'm very close to start shooting some videos. I'm painting up some of my last bit of minis. But the Catacombs of Corral, as I mentioned earlier, came with a set of rules for playing solo. It also comes with a really cool little mini, I would call it a mini campaign, because it's like 3 or 4 scenarios. And you can play it over and over again. There's a randomness to it for randomizing the dungeon. And the other interesting thing is that you play the campaign with a mix of the good guys and the bad guys. 8 cards in all. You'll have 4 good guys and 4 bad guys. And by the way, the good guys, the Advocate, that's it, the heroes of the Advocate. Sean has released, in my opinion, a very balanced set of good guys and bad guys. He's also released a neutral faction. They're called neutrals, and those minis can be used for either side. And some of the neutral minis are, they're awesome. I mean, I don't want to give too much away. You'll see some videos coming up soon where I play this game. In the Catacombs of Corral, in order to play the campaign, you need to make yourself some terrain or buy it.
Check out the new RPG and Wargame Newsletter. Each week, the Tabletop Engineer shares news, products, Kickstarters, and much more related to the gaming hobby. It's free to subscribe, so check out the link in the video description below to sign up.
I'm a crafter. I don't necessarily believe in buying terrain unless I just really love it. But here's a page. This is what you need. 7 pieces of terrain, and it gives you the dimensions down here, plus some scattered terrain, some pedestals with flames, some bridges, and then tokens. These are tokens that you can use. And with just that bit of terrain, and it tells you also which of the miniatures you'll need. And the miniatures is like, there's about 6 or 7 bad guys that you need, and they come in this kit. I think you can buy this book individually, but if you buy the Catacombs of Corral, with the Kickstarter, you got everything. You could back it so he gets everything. If you want to play it, you're going to need to buy the book and a couple of the factions. Now, one of the neat things Sean does is he sells the factions in these little plastic cases. These typically come with anywhere from like 4 to 6 miniatures. All his miniatures, by the way, are the metal, heavy. I love metal miniatures. And they come in this. Inside this are the miniatures, the cards that go with the miniatures, some bonus equipment cards or event cards. He always throws lots of neat things in here. And every one of these packs also comes with a mini scenario, which, like I said, here's the Battle Pigs one, okay? And it comes with a scenario. Now, the core rulebook comes with a whole bunch of scenarios, and then Sean releases new scenarios. Now, these are cooperative or competitive, but you could easily convert these to solo. It's especially given the solo rules that Sean provides in the Catacombs of Corral. With the solo rules in here, you can easily convert all of the scenarios to solo, and it gives you a really, what I call it, after reading the rules, there's a mechanic in here that when one of your good guy, or I say good guy, when one of the solo player miniatures takes an action, you roll a d6. And that d6, there's a chart in here, and basically running an AI bad guy, if you're playing solo, can sometimes be a little off balance, because those of us who play solo, you know, it's like we're not playing a human opponent who's making smart decisions. We're trying to make the decisions that make the game fun, but a lot of times we might choose something that benefits us, right? Well, in this particular scenario, you roll a die, and you look at this chart, and the die will tell you whether or not one of the bad guys gets a move, a free move or a free action, or a free activation. If it's not a free activation, but they might get to activate before you, and the rules tell you how they will choose to do what they do. It's really well done. There's a lot of room here for homebrew rules and also people creating their own scenarios, which, if you know me, that's kind of where I'm going, because I love creating custom scenarios for the games that I play, and Relicblade just lends itself so easy to that. The terrain, let me show you in this video. At the end of this video, I'll have a time lapse showing how I did this stuff, but let me show you what I've done. So for those of you who follow me, you know I craft a lot of my own terrain, and I make a lot of stuff out of foam. The thing I don't like about foam is it's very light, and if you bump it, it tends to, move easy. And if you've got miniatures on it, they'll tip over and things like that. So when I was looking at the simplicity of how much terrain the Relicblade solo campaign calls for, it calls for 7 pieces. They are, like, for instance, this one is 4 by 8, and it's supposed to be 2 inches tall, which is what I've got here. But this one is made out of wood, okay, not foam. The only foam on this, I made the base out of wood, and then I glued a 1/4 inch piece of foam on the top, trimmed it, did the lines, roughed it up, gouged it, and then painted it. And so here is the 4 by 8 piece. It's got some weight to it. If I want it to be heavier, I could easily glue in something in here to make it heavier. The largest one I had to make is this one, 8 by 8. And these pieces are meant to, move against each other like so. And in the book, there are a total of, I think, 6, maybe 7. Actually, there's an introduction, and then there's 7 different scenarios that you will use. Let me just show you one. For instance, like here's one called the Noxious Nexus. And as you can see, he shows you how to place the terrain and the bridges and he, you know, all the other details. And then this one has like rules for how to run it, how the beasts or the enemies behave. It's pretty cool. So what you do is you play the prelude scenario, which is like this introductory scenario, and then after that you roll a die, and that die 1 through 6 tells you which of the 6 scenarios that you're going to play, and you set it up and you play it. And when you get to the third, or actually I guess the fourth, if you include the prelude, the fourth scenario will be a boss encounter, and there's two different bosses here. But if you have any of the other Relicblade miniatures, like the boss pigs or anything like that, you could easily substitute some of the bigger bosses for those 2 bosses. And here's one called Oil Slick Spectre. So what most impressed me about this is that Sean created a little campaign that you could play solo, and he's made it with very minimal amount of terrain. If you don't have terrain, you could cut this out of paper and just for the height or the some of them are 2 inches tall and some of them are 1 inch, and that's it. So that height difference there you could do with just a book or something like that underneath it. But you don't need the terrain to play this, but I like to have actual terrain. So I made this green nasty dungeon tile for my 7 pieces. Now the other thing I've done, after I made these, I realized just how much I like playing around with the mix of these. So I was thinking these would be great with Frostgrave if I could come up with a way to... Frostgrave is played on a 3x3, by the way, and Relicblade is played on a 2x2. Now with the solo campaign, it's not 2x2, it's using these terrain boxes. But a typical game of Relicblade only plays on a 2x2. It's very fast, very efficient. It's action combat, and then the game ends. And that was another thing that really grabbed me about Relicblade, because I find, in my experience, I like skirmish war games that are played on smaller play areas. When I've played games on a 4x4, sometimes it takes 20 minutes or 10 minutes to get your minis to a point where they're within like long range weapons range. With Relicblade 2x2, everything is you're getting into the action very quick. I have played Frostgrave games on 2x2, and they're fun, but man, let me tell you, the minute the game starts, you're in the action. So I do agree that the 3x3 for Frostgrave is probably the best size, but for Relicblade, 2x2. So if you have any questions about Relicblade, put them in the comments below. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am no expert at Relicblade. There are people out there who have been playing it for much, much longer than I have. I have played a few games of it, and I loved it, and I cannot wait to start playing it again. You're going to find that the games that I record, the solo games, they're fast. They don't tend to last very long, and I think that's one of the things I like about Relicblade. But again, post your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. It's very possible there may be some other Relicblade players watching this who might be able to chime in and help as well. The website, pretty easy to remember, relicblade.com. And there's an online store there where he sells the books, Sean sells the books, the minis, the packs like this. Oh, by the way, one other thing. In addition to these, which usually come with like 4 or 5 minis, he also sells individual... Well, I don't have one right now. Yeah, I do. Do I? Let's see. No, I don't. He sells individual minis, and they usually come with the card that you need to run them. Some of those one-shot minis, I'm slowly but surely collecting. I don't have all the Relicblade minis. He's got a lot of minis, but I buy the ones that grab my attention, that are eye-catching, like this Gorgon. I just love this Gorgon here. They're really, really great sculpts. Like I said, his art style and his miniatures, they match, and it's just really an incredible game. So Before I wrap this video up, I'm going to append some of my time lapse where I'm making the boxes and showing you how I did them there real quick. But I am going to be playing Relicblade very soon, very shortly, because I'm almost done with my miniatures. I'm going to be playing the Catacombs of Corral solo game, and I hope you enjoy it. Sean, if you're watching this video, thank you for creating Relicblade. It's such a cool game. The cards and the simple dice play of it are what I find really, really cool. And of course, I love your minis and your the cards you make to go along with it. All right, that's all I got. Let me show you how I made my terrain, and I'll be back very soon with a new playthrough video. Until then, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer. Everybody, take care.